we're heading into our playoff preview coming up here. And we've got 2 games coming up on Saturday, 2 games coming up on Sunday. So Saturday is going to start off 4:35 Eastern time is the Titans and the Chiefs. The Chiefs had a down point in the season and then finished on a strong note. The Titans, they finished their last game with a win, but they've been mostly down. I definitely expect this to be a Chiefs victory and even somewhat easy. I could easily see this being a double-digit win, and the Chiefs not really having much of a problem here with this Tennessee team.
Hey, before I give you my opinion, Zach, we're gonna do a fun little pick'em contest here. I got written down on a piece of paper here. I got my picks, I got your picks, and we'll pick every game right up through the Super Bowl. We'll just pick it straight up, nothing ATS wise, just fun, basic, straight up, and see who gets the most right at the end of the season. Okay, you go with that.
That sounds perfect to me. I like that idea.
So Zach, you already said you like Kansas City.
I do.
Pretty obvious. I'm the same way. We've both been down on Tennessee this entire year, and you know they're just, you can't have a lot of faith in them. I haven't liked what I've seen from Marcus Mariota this year, and the way Kansas City has kind of turned the corner, and they turned the corner at the right time after losing what was it, something like 6 of 7 or 7 of 8 or some shit like that. They've won 4 in a row going into the playoffs, so they got to be feeling pretty good, and they're getting back to bases with Kareem Hunt and not having Alex Smith sling the ball around the field. So and it's at home, so obviously you have that advantage. And Vegas thinks it's a pretty good chance they're going to win too. They're laying 9 in this game. So Zach and I both like Kansas City here. I think KC should win this game pretty comfortably as well.
The second game on Saturday is going to be an 8:15 p.m. Eastern game. This is the LA Rams playing the Atlanta Falcons. And the Falcons, I've been down on throughout the year. They still have some good players. It's hard to doubt the combination of Matt Ryan, Devonta Freeman, and Julio Jones, who are star players. They've been great. They've been there before. They made it to the Super Bowl last year. It's hard to bet against them, but that's what I'm going to do. I like this Rams team a little bit better. They've been more consistent throughout the season, and they've clinched that home game, which I think is going to help them out. They've also, I feel like their defense is a little stronger, a little more consistent than the Falcons' defense has been throughout this year. So I think this will end up being a very, very close game, maybe one that finishes on a field goal towards the end of the game. But I'm going with the LA Rams in this game.
I think if there's one game that could be an upset this week, it could be this one.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are really high on the Rams. I think a lot of people are kind of down on Atlanta, and you and I both, for one, and more those are the kind of spots that upsets seem to happen in. And there's going to be an upset in the wild card, and you just got to figure out where it's going to be. There's going to be at least one, and I just don't think the other 3 matchups are as. I just don't have as good a feel as I do for this game. Atlanta's been there before. They were there last year. They've pretty much been playing. They've pretty much been in the playoffs and playing playoff games the last month of the season, basically. So they're in playoff mode. It's going to be a warm environment. It's not. I mean, that's not much of a home field advantage out there. Hell, there might be more Atlanta fans there than Rams fans. I mean, we've seen that so far this season there in LA. So it's not like they have a huge home field advantage to do the Rams. Not a lot of crowd noise Atlanta has to deal with. And at the end of the day, I mean, they still do have a really young quarterback in Jared Goff, who's making his first playoff start.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any experience there. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I might look like a fool, but I'm going to take Atlanta here and say they knock off the LA Rams. So a lot of people, they've become a trendy pick to get to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to take Atlanta here in the nightcap.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick. Like I said, I think this will be a tighter game than people expect, and I fully agree that this is the most likely upset to happen. So from there, we'll move on to the 1 o'clock Sunday game, which is the Bills and Jaguars. We talked a little bit about the Bills there towards the end of our season review there from the last week. This Bills team's really going to struggle if LaShawn McCoy is not there. I actually think they're going to struggle no matter what. This Jacksonville defense has really been solid. I can only see Jacksonville struggling if they get down early, which I don't see happening from this Buffalo team. I think Jacksonville gets up early and maintains that lead throughout, and this is another definite double-digit win for them.
Yeah, I like Jacksonville as well here, Zach. Buffalo just one. They don't have the firepower on offense to keep up with Jacksonville, and the one thing they did have that could potentially neutralize them in LaShawn McCoy running the ball, keeping Jacksonville off the field, shorten the game. They don't have now. I mean, even if they do have him, like I said, how good is he going to be? How effective is he going to be? At home with that defense, I think they play smart here. Does Jacksonville? Let's lean on Fournette, lean on the run game. Let Bortles just manage the game and have some safe throws, not let him chuck the ball all over the place. So I'm in agreement, Zach. I like Jacksonville in this game, and what I agree, I don't think it's going to be that good of a football game.
Yeah, I'd say that too. I think Jacksonville is going to rely a lot on their running back or on their running game, and it's not going to be a fun, exciting game to watch in their win. I could really see it being like 24-7 kind of game where Leonard Fournette has a monster game, and probably even one of their backups has a solid game, filling in for him when they get a chance. So we'll get on to the last game, which is scheduled for 4:40 on Sunday. And this is a game I'm easily most excited about. It's the two closest teams to each other, I feel like, where the Saints are at home against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have looked great at times. Other times, they have not looked good at all. As an example, this past week against Atlanta, they looked absolutely terrible. Meanwhile, the Saints have been a little bit similar. They've had some down games, but they've been more consistent at how they've won this year. I like how much they've relied on the running game, and they still have Drew Brees, who I mentioned before, the best quarterback in the NFC playoffs this year. There's no question about it, and I think that gives them a huge advantage there. I still think this will be a close game, but I still like the Saints. I would love, because I know you're going to pick the Saints. I would love to pick against you there, but I just can't. I can't do it with this Panthers team and how ugly their team looked this past week.
They say it's hard to beat a team three times in one season.
Yeah,
that's kind of the old saying. It's always been out there. And the Saints have beaten Carolina twice so far this year. Both times scoring more than 30 points. The first matchup, 34-13. Second matchup, 31-21. So whatever New Orleans is doing, they're having success moving the football against Carolina's defense, who Carolina has a pretty decent defense. They're kind of middle of the pack, right on the outside of the top 10, if I remember correctly. But for whatever reason, they got their number. And at home, in that dome, they can dictate the speed and however they want to play. I just think New Orleans is definitely too much here. I don't have confidence in Cam Newton that he can go in there and kind of put the team on his back and lead them to a victory. I just don't. If this game was in Carolina, Zach, I'm telling you right now, if this game was in Carolina, I'd pick Carolina. I would. I just would have a hunch that, New Orleans had beat them twice already, and Carolina just that place would be fired up, and I probably would pick Carolina, but being in New Orleans in that dome, I got to ride with the Saints as well.
Yeah, I was surprised to even hear you say that because I know you've been down on Carolina. Knowing you personally, I know it's been the last couple years, or at least the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I'm the same way, where that makes it tough that they would be having to win a third game against that Panthers team. It does make me feel comfortable that they won both games by double digits. It wasn't like they barely put it out at the end with a field goal or something like that. So definitely out of those 4 games, that's the game I'm most interested in watching. I think it has the most potential to be exciting, most potential to be high scoring, most potential to be close out of all 4 games coming up on our wild card weekend, the first weekend of the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I love playoff football. I absolutely love it.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's great. It really is. I mean, and look, wild card weekend is fun and all, but next week and then thereafter is where things really, I mean, you really get some awesome games. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to, seeing who the Eagles will end up playing. They'll be playing either they'll play one of the NFC South teams. They're either going to be playing Atlanta, Carolina, or New Orleans. So I'm hoping it's either the Falcons or the Panthers. I don't want to see New Orleans. If it's either one of those two, I'll be okay. So it's going to be interesting to see how where things go from there, Zach. So should be fun. It should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to watching some football this week because it's going to be cold around here. I know you're a little south. You're a little farther south than me, so I know your temperatures are still a little chilly. But here, man, it's going to be frigid cold. So I ain't doing anything, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in my sweatpants. I might maybe put a hoodie on, get a little bundled up, sit on the couch, get my snacks, a cold beer perhaps, or some hot chocolate or something. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch football pretty much all weekend because this is my favorite time of the year.
Absolutely. Should be a good weekend for it to really kick off the playoffs and then really escalate the week after when we get those top teams who have a bye back at it.
All right, so Zach, we'll move on to our final thoughts segment here. And I just had an idea to discuss what is football overtime at both levels, NFL overtime and college overtime. What one you prefer and which one you think should be the mainstay of overtime, or if there's part of it you would adjust. So for anyone out there, obviously NFL overtime is pretty straightforward. Winner of the toss either receives or defers. If the first team that receives the ball goes down and scores a touchdown, the game is over. If they don't, then the opposing team has a chance to get the ball back, and if they score a touchdown, the game is over. If they tie the game with a field goal, then the next score wins. In college, each team gets a crack at it from the opponent's 25-yard line. So it's a little different. There's no kickoffs. There's nothing like that. Each team is all but in the red zone. They start at the 25-yard line, and then it goes back and forth to whoever ends up winning the game. And when the third overtime starts, extra points or no more, each team then has to go for 2 to try to speed things up there. So it makes things pretty interesting. So I'll let you start, Zach. Which overtime do you prefer? Do you prefer the way the pros do it, or do you prefer the way the college does it? And what tweaks would you make for the one that you select?
There's one thing that stands out more than anything else, and it's not even close. And anybody can go and ask my sisters, anyone in my family, anyone I've played a game against. If I play some kind of board game, whatever it is, and it's strictly based on chance, I get so angry. I hate when I have to wait for the die to roll a 5 or for me to pick the right card or anything like that. That frustrates me more than anything. And that's how I feel about the NFL overtime system. That so much relies on that coin toss. That's random chance.
Yep.
It's just I hate how that is such a huge factor that whoever gets the ball, they get that first chance to go down and score, and it's done. It's over.
So it sounds like you think each team should get a crack at it.
100%. Each team should definitely get a shot at it. I do like how the NFL plays the full field. I like that from the start, but I think it's important for both teams to get a shot on offense and on defense. Because especially you think about those kind of high-scoring games like we just saw this past weekend in the Georgia game versus Oklahoma. In a high-scoring game like that, when both teams are scoring in the 40s, and one touchdown ends it, that there's no way. Like, that's what both teams do well.
Right.
And you're not giving them a chance to do what they do well. It just it puts way too much on a dumb little 50% chance coin flip at the beginning. And I hate that. That's not what sports is about.
Agree. And we were just, discussing that. Look back at the Super Bowl last year where New England is the beneficiary of the coin toss. They win the toss. Obviously, they elect to receive. And they go down the field at will and score the game-winning touchdown. And that's pretty much because momentum was really on their side going into overtime. But two, Atlanta had been on the field for something like 100 plays. I mean, that defense is gassed. I mean, to ask them to get a stop or else the game's over, I mean, that's a big thing to ask there. And I agree with you, Zach. I definitely think both teams, regardless, need to get a shot at overtime. Look, overtime in college is exciting because it's different. Each teams are starting at the 25. There's going to be points on every drive for the most part. But I don't like the fact that, a team can win on a missed field goal, like, more times than not. Like, I just don't like that. Like, I really don't. Because I thought for sure, like that, going back to the Oklahoma-Georgia game, I thought for sure that game was going to end on someone missing a field goal. And for a game –
I was afraid of that too.
And if it did, that would have been such a disservice for college football. I mean, for that great of a game to end on a missed field goal, that would have been such a cop-out. That would have been so weak. So I am in agreement with you. I like the NFL. I like the way they do it, where it's like a game. It's like, anything can happen. I mean, there could be pick sixes, every fumble. I mean, you're working the entire field. You're going to have to drive 80, 85 yards, not, 25 yards. Whoop-de-doo. Okay. You need to, I mean, this is football. It's not 7-on-7. I mean, come on. Like, 25 yards, that's a joke. But I know college, they like to separate themselves from the NFL. So that's kind of why they do their thing. But yeah, for sure. Definitely like the way NFL does. And if I would tweak it, I probably would tweak it the same way, is let's give each team an opportunity. I mean, if they let the team go right down the field and score a touchdown, yeah, it makes things a little more difficult, but at least they'd have that chance. At least they'd have an opportunity to keep the game alive. And then, then say, they score a touchdown, tie it up, then okay, next score wins. Each team has had a chance to possess the ball and had a chance to make their claim, then okay, next score wins. So I think that's the way they need to handle it and the way they need to go with it going forward. And then, like, college gets into that going for two stuff. That's just not – it's almost like not fair. Like, I mean, for a game to come down to a 2-point conversion, which is so, like, 50-50, that's just – I just don't like the way I don't like the way college operates. I mean, college kickers, I mean, there's so many college kickers that are liabilities for their teams that, it comes down to a kick here or there. I mean, I hate to see teams lose a game because of a kicker. The NFL, sure. I mean, they're the best at what they do. If they miss a kick, that sucks, but, they're professional kickers. I mean, these kids are college athletes. They're student athletes. And I don't like for, kicking to be a big part of the college football game. So anything else to add with the overtime stuff?
I actually disagree with you on that. I like the 2-point conversion rule in college football after that first one, because it's a tough situation there, being that close to the goal line where there's very limited plays that you can call, and teams have to be they have to be either creative, they have
Yep.
to do something that they are very consistent on, that they know is going to run exactly like it always does. You see the Patriots with their pick plays that they run, or different teams with their tight end, short passes, opening up the tight ends, where you've got to have something consistent like that you're confident is going to work when you have that just one chance. And I think that's more football than just scoring the touchdown and counting on the extra point. And if they miss it, it's done. Like that'd be an unfortunate way to end a game. But I think it's so exciting on either side, whether it's a score or not, when it comes down to that 2-point conversion, because everything relies on that short play.
Right. And that's kind of and then that makes things even more interesting in the NFL ever since they moved the extra point back to 33 yards. And now it's like, no, that's not a gimme as well. So it makes things really interesting. And then it kind of opens up that dynamic. Well, if we score a touchdown, do we go for 2? Do we go for 2 right away, or do we go for 2 for the win? Teams have to think about that kind of stuff. And, if I'm a road team in overtime, I'm playing to win 100%. I'm doing whatever I can to get out of there with a win. Try to get the win as soon as possible. And if I score a touchdown, and especially if I have a team like, say, the Steelers that has offensive weapons all over the place, or like the Patriots or something like that, or the Eagles when they were healthy with Wentz, I'm going for 2. I mean, we're gonna get 2 yards, okay? Yeah. So that puts a little dynamic in it as well. So overtime's definitely an interesting dynamic when it comes to sports. I don't think teams should tie, though.
I agree. I
don't think there should be ties in any sport, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, soccer, which is the draw is so common in soccer, which is so lame, which is one of the reasons I never really got into soccer. I mean, you play, like Herman Edwards said, you play to win the game, right? Hello? Mm-hmm. Like, yet teams and games finish in ties. And I think they need to figure out a way for it not to happen, and I guess they figure that, first team scores a touchdown, that limits on that. Maybe that has some sort of factor in it. I don't know. But I think they need to do away with ties, do away with it. If the period runs out, go on to the next one. But they shortened the overtime period. You noticed that this year. They went from 15 minutes to when overtime starts, there's 10 minutes left. So it's like, I'm not sure what the NFL is trying to accomplish there.
Because I'd almost rather see a combination where they start out like the current NFL system, where they have to go the full field. They have, let's keep it 10 minutes. They have 10 minutes. If nobody scores, or if it's still a tie because both teams kick the field goal, and I think both teams should have a chance with the ball on offense and on defense. But if it's still a tie, then I'd be fine going to the college version of, I think you move it back a little bit, start at the 30, start at the 35, and run plays from there and run it the rest of it just like the college overtime to try and establish a winner. I agree with you. I hate that with it finishing in a tie. I think that's completely wrong in professional sports. And I've never experienced it, fortunately, but if I went to a game and it ended in a tie, how disappointing would that be?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't want to deal with that.
Right. And the funny part is, ties in the NFL, they actually help teams more than they hurt them. Like, because it doesn't go as a loss.
Yeah.
So if you're tied with a team, you have one less loss in that loss column. So you have the tiebreaker over them. Like, I remember in 2008, I think it was. I'll never forget, because I was in Disney World and the Eagles were playing the Bengals, and that was the game that they tied. And I'm like in like Magic Kingdom or some shit on my phone, like checking. I'm like, what the hell? They tied? That tie actually helped the Eagles get into the playoffs because that was the difference in the tiebreaker. Yeah. So it's like these teams tie, yet it benefits them. So the coaches are less likely to be aggressive in overtime because all right, would I like to get a win here? Sure. But as a tie at the end of the day isn't going to hurt me because it helps me more so than getting that loss. So you have that X factor there as well.
Yeah, I think from an athlete's perspective too, you don't want to leave with a tie. Like
Right.
it's just I don't see it being beneficial in any way. I think they should have some way to finalize a winner.
Totally agree.
Because you think about that in other sports. In soccer, penalty kicks are probably, in my opinion, I'm not a big soccer fan, they're the most exciting thing.
Right.
In hockey, you have a shootout at the end of the game.
Yep.
That's exciting there too.
Yep.
It's just like
baseball, they have extra innings. They'll play to the 21st inning if need be.
Yeah.
Sports should not end in a tie, and the NFL and NCAA need to, maybe experiment with them a little bit more. I mean, and I'm sure they're always looking to, ways that they can better the league and better the game, which I hope they are. And, maybe they'll listen to this and take in some of our opinions into consideration.
There you go. That's why we do this. We never know who's listening.
That's right. Exactly.
Perfect. Well, good talk here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it and have a great start to 2018.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Best of luck to everyone out there. Have a good week and enjoy the football. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you guys next week.
Thank you so much for listening to the Lifelong Rivals Sports Podcast. We really appreciate it. We've changed some things up based on some of the feedback we've received, so we'd love to continue hearing your feedback. As we continue to build this platform with our podcast, it's very helpful to us if you can share it with the people you know that you think would be interested. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have a great week.